Welcome to Hearts of Iron 4, and you're here because you suck at Hearts of Iron 4, and that's okay. Today we'll be playing a historical game as Germany, and I will walk you through how to make Germany great. How to win that war that cannot be won. So, we'll start with Iron Man mode on, and historical focuses on, and we'll get going. Don't worry about this, I'm running a mod that allows me to name divisions. I'll show you in a minute, so let's go.
We three idiots will finally have our revenge!
I don't think so. You two make me ashamed to call myself an idiot.
First off, couple pointers. One, I will be leaving the list of focuses and the order in which I do them down in the description below. I'll do the same for research. I will be leaving a list of my research and the order in which I do the research down below. I'll also be leaving the political power expenditure down below as well, so you can just follow the strategy without having to deal with the minutia. Two, several of the things that I will be mentioning might not be available to you. I am running all available DLC. If you have certain DLCs lacking, I will let you know what alternatives you have without the DLC. All in all, there's just some little details that will vary. First of those little details is going to be down here, the MIOs. If you do not have access to Arms Against Tyranny, you will not have access to these MIOs. You will simply have industrial concerns like this. It's slightly different. As for the MIOs, I will be using for armor, I will be using Henschel. For the Navy, I will be using Blom and Voss and Deschimach interchangeably because Deschimach gives me production while Blom and Voss gives me stats. Then for the airplanes, I will be using Focke-Wulf for basically everything, and specifically Focke-Wulf with the upgrades to range. Extra range is magnificent. Focke-Wulf is simply the best. The only exception will be I will be leveling up Junkers for my CAS, and I will be leveling up Fiesler for my naval bombers. Then for the infantry equipment is very straightforward. Rheinmetall for the artillery, Mauser for the guns, and Walther for the equipment. I'll show you the order in which I take their points when they come up. Alright? Alright. Let's get going. First off, our facility over here is going to be having Eduard Grotte in it, and he will be doing the military engineering vehicles. If you don't have access to this, don't worry about it. If it's not in the base game, simply ignore it, put him in there, and just do nothing with it. Then, the naval headquarters, if you don't have no compromise, no surrender, you don't have this. This is basically a non-issue. He's just giving us a little bit of a bonus in certain sea zones. Now, for our construction, very simple. First off, we're going to build up the maximum level of infrastructure in these four provinces, starting with Westfalen, then Hessen, then Rhineland, then Moselland. We're then going to build up 5 civilian factories in Westfalen, and we're going to drag that to right below Hessen. That means the moment they finish the last level of infrastructure in Westfalen, they can then start building civilian factories in Westfalen, giving us more civs more quickly. Military factories, we're going to add 5 to guns, bringing them up to a total of 15. We are going to add 1 factory to civilian trains, and we're going to add 2 factories to towed artillery. This is basically the initial setup. We're going to make a few small adjustments with the MIOs. Again, if you don't have Arms Against Tyranny, ignore what I'm doing now. The BF-109s will use Focke-Wulf. For the Ju-87s, we'll use Focke-Wulf. For the HE-111s, we're going to actually switch them out for the Do-22's basic naval bombers using Fiesler for the production output bonus. Then, ships. There are a bunch of ships in the queue, and we're going to bring them all down to simply building 1 copy of what's already being built. Then, we are going to the big ships, and we're going to hold shift while we click the red arrows on all the big ships, so they are all moved to the back of the queue. With that done, we're going to increase the assigned dockyards to all of these vessels to the maximum. You can see they're all grayed out, but as these ships finish, more and more dockyards will become available, and it will bring you a bit of a cascading effect until they're all done. Magnificent. As for the big ships over here, about 2 dockyards each, according to my math, should force them all to get finished before the war starts, so early 39. Yes, I know this says April 1942. This will change, trust me. Then the army. We have 24 infantry divisions and 6 others. These 6 others consist of 3 tanks, 1 motorized, 1 cavalry, and a mountaineer brigade. We'll take the mountaineers and the cavalry and convert them into motorized. Then we're going to take those 6 divisions, park them on Berlin, and simply exercise them. The main army of infantry, all 24, we're going to split them out into 5 different armies. We'll take those 5 armies and we'll split them over our various fronts. We will put one army on the French border. Don't worry, they can't get there yet, but they will as soon as this weird red line goes away. Don't worry about it. We'll put one army in Eastern Prussia. We'll put one army on the border with the Netherlands. And then the remaining 2 armies, we'll select the Field Marshal, hold Shift, and create a Field Marshal front line on the border of Poland. This is going to be the main thrust. What this Field Marshal order does is create an unbroken line of all the units available to the Field Marshal without trying to separate them out per general. For instance, if I were to do the same thing but not hold Shift and simply click front line, click the Polish border, you can see the game is trying to separate them out by generals. And then we're going to draw a series of big arrows offensive lines so they can start getting planning bonus. It gives us an idea of what we're planning to be doing here in the future. Then we're going to go to our Air Force. We're going to select every single airplane, send them to Eastern Germany. And in Eastern Germany, we will hold Shift, click Pilot Exercises, and we'll also do this only during the day. Rookie airplanes crash a lot more when it's dark, so only have them train during the day, minimizes the losses. As for the Navy, we're going to take the Marineschule Kiel along with the Ostseeflotte and combine them into the Hochseeflotte, which we will then have Shift exercising as well. Same with the submarines, simply have them exercising. Now for trade. Basically, you're always going to be trying to trade for all the resources you can get your hands on. The best candidates to trade with is places that, 1, you have a land connection with, so you won't use convoys to get the stuff. And 2, countries that you're not expecting to go to war with, such as the United Kingdom, the Dutch East Indies, British Burma, for instance. And then lastly, for oil. Oil is what gives you fuel. Germany does not have a lot of fuel to start with. It does not have a lot of fuel production, and it will need fuel for all the exercising and for all the eventual armored warfare you do. If you find yourself running out of fuel, go to the trade, filter for oil, and then get some oil. Preferably, once again, overland from a person you're not going to be going to war with. It's just one of those things you need to get a feel for. I can't tell you when to assign how many factories to it. If your oil's running low, put 5 factories on trade with Iran, see what happens. Once the fuel's full and you're noticing, well, I'm not really using that much anymore, modify the trade back down. Fuel is not going to give you a warning for insufficient resources. This is something you're going to have to look out for your own. Again, focuses, research, and all of these political advisors I will leave down below in the description. Don't worry about it too much. Let's now just get to the meat and potatoes, get to war. Speed the game up. Let's rock and roll. Now, with all these airplanes arriving in East Germany, we're also going to be merging the air groups. Either hit G or click this arrow button here. This consolidates all these separate little air wings into close to full strength air wings. We're also going to take these transport planes, delete them. Now we have done the first focus, Remilitarize the Rhineland. You can see the red squiggly line is gone. These are no longer demilitarized zones, meaning the army can move in there and we can build military factories there. So the next set of construction we will do is a series of military factories in these 4 areas. This one is full because of the civilian factories, but it will get additional slots activated once we do more research. One important change we're going to make now is going to recruit and deploy. We got 5 army experience from completing that focus, and we're going to put it to use. Division designer, create empty. Then we're going to create a mobile battalion of cavalry, and we're going to save that. I'm going to change this name to my member divisions. This is going to name all of these divisions after my channel members. These are the people that allow me to do what I do. And what I do is try to teach people some Hearts of Iron 4 and have some fun doing it. Anyway, we're going to queue up 96 divisions of cavalry. The reason for that is twofold. 1, they're cheap and very quick to train, meaning I can get these out the door, ready to deploy. 2, it allows me to do some funny things with the Anschluss, but you can see that in a minute. So we're just going to queue up 96 of these. We're going to move the equipment priority to high, leave everything else on medium, and as soon as they start reaching training level 20, so 20% trained, spam this button. Get all of them out the door right now. They won't be trained, they will be worthless, but that's fine. I like them worthless. And we continue on to the Fuhrerprinzip. Political power will also spend Mr. Schacht. And as more and more of these cavalry units become available, simply spam the button. We now have more political power. We're going to spend that. Hired Chief of the Army, Ludwig Beck. But the reason we're getting him early is to get some army experience early. Get that taking early, get maximum benefit. As for the cavalry we are deploying, simply select the units that have been deployed and then right-click the Field Marshal. And he will make sure they will all get evenly distributed amongst the armies. Each and every one of these divisions named after one of our beloved channel members. If you want to see yourself represented on the battlefield and help the channel grow, feel free to check out the channel membership down below next to the subscribe button. Or don't, I'm not your dad. I still love you. Now, as for these units that we've already deployed, like these cavalry, just take the Field Marshal and shift-click the exercises so we can start training up those horribly inexperienced cavalry divisions. Now, at some point you will get this event where the federal state of Austria bans the DNSAP. Always pick the top option. It's going to cost us 50 political power, which is of no consequence to us, but on historical, Austria will then always accept to install Arthur Say's Inquart, basically making it easier for us to annex them diplomatically later on. So this is well worth the 50 political power. Here we go, they said yes. Now, as the fresh ships come off the production line, we'll take the submarines and distribute them equally among the two sub-fleets. They're not going to be the main naval force. All other surface vessels, simply put them in the high seas fleet and shift exercise them so that they will train and keep importing oil as you need it. I'm currently trading 2 civilian factories to Venezuela, so thank you, Maduro. All right, we've reached 20 army experience, as good a time as any to spend it. We'll go into our officer corps, and down here, the spirit of the academy, we're going to assign political loyalty. Now, the reason we do this is because it will give us more stability. Stability impacts political power gain, consumer goods factor, factory dockyard output. It is such a good thing to have. Always aim to get your stability as close to 100 as possible. And that is all of the cavalry deployed. That gives us a full army group of 120 divisions. We'll now take the horses, the 96 horses, almost nice. Change the template to infantry division. You'll notice I'm 70,000 guns short, 3,000 support equipment short, 1,000 artillery short, and it's fine. We have 3 years before the war. Our economy will grow exponentially by then, and we will have this deficit sorted out in no time. And we will now leave this army to train. As that army gets experience, and most importantly equipment and manpower, it will start contributing more and more to this, the Anschluss. The game will register that our army will be at least 23 times bigger than the Austrian army. All we need is a little bit of time, and the army will be where I need it to be. Now, every now and then as Germany will get events like this, the growing expenses of rearmament. Those are tied to, let me scroll back here, the 4-year plan, and most importantly, the MIFO bills. This counts as a bit of a timer. As time progresses, you will slowly but surely spend more of your civilian factories on consumer goods, and there are only 3 ways to offset that. One is by the decisions to use the price controls, which we will be getting after this focus finishes. The second is a series of the decisions that will become available here as we start occupying the capitals of other countries and we can steal their gold reserves. And then lastly, this is the big one, when we achieve autarky. When we have access to this amount of resources within either the German Reich or its subjects, we will be able to take that focus and completely undo the MIFO bills penalty and replace it with a stronger version that doesn't have any of the downside. If you follow this strategy to a T, you should be able to achieve it without difficulties. Now, there is something to be said about prioritizing economic growth. It is easier. It is less stressful for a new player. However, 4-year plan is simply superior. It gives you an industry quickly, and it gets you ready for the war quickly. And if you win that war quickly, you have nothing to fear. And I will show you how to win that war quickly. Anyway, now that the army is deployed and training, we will move reinforcement to high priority as well as garrisons to a high priority. Everything else simply leave as is. One thing to change though is go to panzer divisions, turn them elite, update that. This will indicate that the fresh equipment will go to the Panzers first, and we'll do the same with the motorized, make them elite as well. The reason I want that is because these are going to do a lot of fighting in Spain. So, spoiler, we're going to Spain. Now, with all the small ships built, you can tell that 2 dockyards per capital ship is enough to finish each and every one of them before the war starts. What we're going to do next is something new. What we're going to do is create the meme cruiser. The reason I do this is because before No Compromise, No Surrender, Germany didn't really need to have a strong fleet. It just needed to build the ships already in the queue and add some destroyers to it. And eventually, Britain would move its ships in a way that made no sense, giving you a window of opportunity to invade. Now, that might still happen, but it's exceedingly unlikely, and you will actually need to send your navy out. The navy will have to engage. You will have to play a bit of the navy game. Fortunately, I'll show you how to play that navy game to the best of your ability. We're going to take the Admiral Hipper Heavy Cruiser, and we're going to turn it into a light cruiser. We're going to replace every main gun, medium battery, with a light cruiser battery too. Bottom left, top left, and then this central slot. This gives it the best firepower for a light ship. Then we're going to replace these 2 between the medium batteries with secondary batteries, giving it even more light attack. Down here, the AA gun can be a better AA gun. This slot can fit another secondary battery, and then the armor will get cruiser armor 2, which is what the Admiral Hipper starts with. It makes it reasonably well armored. As for the designer, I usually go with Blom & Voss. It is a pretty good designer for the job. It has enough armor to be almost impervious to other light ships the AI makes. That's what the Armor 2 does. It has a very high speed at 30 knots. It's going to be very difficult to hit for enemy big ships. And then in return, it will shred the enemy's screening line. And as those enemy small ships die, gaps in the line will appear where the rest of our fleet can exploit that. Our submarines and our destroyers will be able to launch torpedoes at the enemy capital ships. Anyway, as the heavy ships finish, the rest of these factories, dockyards, will go into the basic cruisers. And we have our price controls. We can start dealing with our economy a little bit. This gives us access to the price control measures. The ones I usually do is all of them except Ersatzmaterial. That one becomes available later on. And I also tend to skip exploiting the Gombosch Treaty. Now, I am not entirely sure if this is optimal, but I just feel bad stealing from Horthy. So I'll just take all of these and then all of these. As for traits, so this is the queue I tend to pick for Mauser. You can take some notes on this if you want to. Basically, whatever gets me production bonuses first, followed by whatever gives me soft attack bonuses, and then the rest. Spain is also doing its thing every time. We are going to send volunteers to Sanjurjo. We can send 7, but I don't have 7 available. We'll send 6, the 3 motorized and the 3 armor, along with air volunteers. I tend to send 1 fighter wing and 1 tactical bomber wing. So the point of this is to get air experience from our engagements here, along with army experience from our land engagements there. We have our military engineering vehicles, beautiful, and we'll simply put them into production using Henschel. 2 of these should be fine, and we'll take 2 factories off infantry equipment. All right, our divisions have arrived in Spain, and there's a couple of approaches you can take here. The easiest thing to do is just take von Manstein or any good general you have, draw arrow, front line, go, hit button, aggressively attack, and what we'll do is get experience for these units, as well as just get us overall army experience. A second approach you can take is grinding out specific traits for generals. Now, this is something I like to do, but not all the time, because it does really take a while. Take Maximilian von Weichs. He doesn't really have any traits. Then, what we're going to do is fight in very specific ways. We're going to fight using armor, which gives him Panzer leader, and we're going to fight using motorized, which gives him cavalry leader. We're going to fight over river crossings, specifically to get engineer. Basically, we are going to grind for the specific stats, specific traits we want, like ranger, fight in forests, mountaineers, fight in mountains. The way to do that optimally is, for instance, to fight across a river until you're 99% of the way towards getting engineer. and then stop fighting over rivers so it doesn't get any additional experience, and then move on to specifically fighting over hills, mountains, or forests, whatever, to work on that specific trait. Again, until 99%, and then stopping. Every additional trait a general has makes the next trait more expensive. Huzzah! We have our war economy, 150 PP ready to spend. Now for Rheinmetall, the MIO, same deal really, just the advice is get stuff that gets production up first and then find more breakthrough, find more soft attack. This is what I usually run with. Alright, we have a little bit more army experience. I'm going to pick motorization drive. What that does is basically make anything that I change to armor, or motorized or mechanized free. And that's going to be a cheaper way of getting my divisions changed than not getting motorization drive. It ends up saving us army experience. Alright, now, more fighting. More fighting. And you can tell he's starting to get experience for a variety of traits, and eventually it's going to reach 99% done, and I'm going to stop meeting the criteria for that specific trait and move on to the next. This is a bit tedious. I don't always do this. Anyway, we are now ready to Anschluss. Magnificent, is it not? That should give us 1 free Austria. And our army's really not that well equipped, so we're still lacking 66,000 guns, but we have enough equipment and enough troops to make the Austrians shit their pants. Collectively. So we're just checking up October 36, and we can tell a lot of stuff has already been built, and we're starting work on the military factories. Just gonna fill this back up. We got a couple of extra slots because we went up an industry tech, and we'll fill out all of these 100% infrastructure states with military factories. The military construction speed bonus from the MIFO builds is quite powerful. The Fuhrerprinzip Todt has been completed by Fritz Todt. We're going to use that to add the industrial concern Organization Todt, more mill construction speed and other things. We're going to add one more thing, an aerodynamics and avionics facility, and we're going to build it in the Rhineland. The Rhineland's a good place because this is going to be where our first radar pops up. And where the radar pops up is going to give us coverage over the Low Countries, where a lot of the air battles happen early on. So move that Rhineland right up there, the avionics facility. Now we also have some points to spend on Blom and Voss, the ship designer. This is usually what I start with picking out. And the Anschluss. How can anyone say that Austria is not Germany? We inherit some of their field marshals. Well, he becomes a general. We inherit a lot of their industry, and we get some political power and other bonus. And huzzah! Germany has grown larger. Also, if you have no compromise, no surrender, you have access to this faction mechanic stuff. It is by and large irrelevant, but we're going to start completing some of these, such as Unite the German States. As for additional factories, we've got a whole bunch from the Austrians. We can start assigning a couple of the extra ones now. I'm going to put one more on Todt anti-air, and any additional factories can go. Let's move up to 5 basic naval bombers. While we're looking at air, let's take a look at the Bf-109. We are going to add the extra fuel tanks to it so we can get a little bit of additional range. This is fine. We can keep Messerschmitt on it, or we can move up the Focke-Wulf. The extra range is pretty nice. And then for an additional fighter weapon, double cannon 1s. This is a respectable airplane. For the Ju-87s, we're also going to upgrade these, slap on another bit of bomb locks, and we'll replace the light MG defense turrets with extra fuel tanks. So once again, we get some extra range out of these bad boys. As for the Do-22s, basically the same deal. We're going to replace the light MG defense turrets with some extra fuel tanks for the range. And we'll add Fiesler for additional naval attack. Now, for those of you without by blood alone, this is what your air research is going to look like. So where I am designing airplanes and having to research individual components, all you realistically need to do is research close air support. But most importantly, research the fighters, the Focke-Wulf 190, the TA-152. You want to have these things as quickly as possible. So where I start researching, for instance, the 1940 engines or the 1940 airframe, you simply go for the Focke-Wulf. This will be the fighter you put into production. Where I then go to create a new airplane, clicking on this button, you will get this window instead. It is basically where the upgrades to this airplane happen. Also, if you do have arms against tyranny but not by blood alone, this is where you can still assign MIOs for the production. We also have a little bit of army experience to apply to the light tanks. We won't be using a lot of these, but the ones we do use, I'd rather not be shit. We'll add a 3-man turret. We'll add a close support gun for the increased soft attack. We're going to add a secondary turret heavy machine gun. And then for special modules, we're simply going to be adding additional machine guns and additional machine guns. This thing is going to be packing a whole lot of Daka. A quick side note for those of you without no step back, this is what your armor research is going to look like, starting as Germany. Where I mention medium tank hulls, all you have to take into account is just your Panzer III, your Panzer IV, eventually your Panthers, but the Panzer III will see you through for most of this video. When you start producing these will be your medium tanks. If you were to then try and upgrade those tanks, what I would prioritize on are things like the main gun to increase the amount of damage it does, the engine to keep its speed up to date, and armor and reliability. They do exactly what they say on the box. Assigning MIOs for those of you who somehow don't have no step back, but they do have arms against tyranny, can still be done. One thing I did forget at the start is just go into your individual equipments like infantry equipment, create a variant, and then assign the correct MIO, in this case Mauser, to it to receive the benefits from using the MIO. The game doesn't do this automatically at game start, which is a little unfortunate, and I also forgot any additional equipment you research using the designer in the research step will give you that assignment automatically, so you don't have to do this manually. The additional units we get from Austria, we're also just going to add to a separate little army, and we'll convert into infantry. I might as well exercise them. It looks like we're running low on fuel, so we are going to be checking with Venezuela, see if they're willing to trade us a little bit of fuel. And these are the faction goals that are starting to finish. So we have united the German states. The next one, I find this one is relatively easy, and it gives us a free 50 army experience. Now, army experience isn't as valuable as it was before, but getting it early is nice, because if you get army experience early, you can spend it on assigning doctrines. So your doctrines can start gathering the required doctrine progress. So I might as well do this one. Anyway, our Niederschlesien, Oberschlesien, that's 2. Hinterpommern, that's 3. Saxony, that's 4. And then down here, Steiermark Kärnten, that's 5. What's 6 would probably be over here. So we'll just add these. We'll sprinkle these in as we go, so the game will allow those to finish for us while it's still building military factories. Spanish Civil War sucks in every incarnation. While we're here, we're going to take a look at our Panzer divisions. So we're going to make them slightly bigger. These are not the divisions we want to be using long term, so we will be adding stuff to it. For now, I'm going to run with 4 light tanks and 4 motorized infantry. It's not optimal by far, but I don't have the equipment nor the trucks to make this big change. So we'll just slowly over time add more equipment to it. I'll show you what they'll become. Don't worry about it. I'm just doing this in the Spanish Civil War, so as the division grows, more manpower filters into the division. As more manpower comes in, the experience will go down, because overall the veterans are being replenished with, you know, rookie recruits, and the overall veterancy of the unit declines, and then they can do more combat to get the veterancy back up. So I'm doing it during the war instead of after. Speaking of fine, we're going to add any future factories. These are mostly fines. Again, naval bombers. After the naval bombers, we also do want to start building some of those basic small airframes. Let's move it up to 15. Now, you have 150 political power to spend. Might as well spend it now. And we're going to be hiring Franz Selte, Reichsminister for Labor. He's going to give us a nice amount of industrial bonuses at the cost of 5 stability. 5 stability, you know, it's not the best, but he more than makes up for it with his other stats, and we have more stability coming our way. We'll be fine. You also get these events, the questioning of the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. It doesn't really matter that much. This is another event that's going to pop up as Fritz Todt works his way through his little focus tree. So, spoiler, these guys, you only select the top focus, and they automatically, over time, complete the rest of these focuses. In this case, Todt has started Autonomous Organization Todt, and we can say, you know what? We like the cut of your jib. You have the complete trust of the Führer. Or, what I recommend, is you replace him with Albert Speer, who initially only has a small construction bonus and a boost of fascism support. He then has a rather mid-focus, employ Phil Poltzmann. But down here, the Plenipotentiary of Armaments, this is his final form, so to say, gives him a whopping 10% factory and dockyard output. Also, you know, pretty fucking solid. Meanwhile, over here, this guy is getting a lot of experience towards cavalry leader. So as soon as it looks like he's at 99%, I'm going to pull all of his cavalry off the line. I could replace them with infantry instead, simply convert the templates of the units, and then he would stop getting experience for cavalry leader, and he can continue getting experience for the other traits at the normal rates. Alright, we've got our air facility, and usually I'll just pick Von Braun, he's just really good, and he can get started on radar as soon as this becomes available. We also have 100 army experience banked, and now's a good time to start applying it. Most of the units doing fighting are armored and motorized, so we could pick infantry, we could pick armor, we could pick operations. I'm personally of the opinion that we might as well get armor early, because armor is going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting for us. Now, what I usually pick is either armored infantry support. It has some very nice bonuses to medium tanks, and those are weighted at the top. And at the bottom, you have more breakthrough for infantry as well as heavy tanks. Alternatively, armored spirit is fairly straightforward. It's organization and recovery for tanks, breakthrough for tanks. Pretty nice. I recommend you pick the streamlined deployment. It does have the extra soft attack, the extra breakthrough. It does come out on top. So let's get that, and you can tell the little arrow is working its way down, and slowly over time, as these divisions either train or are in combat, we will unlock the rest of these sub-doctrines. As for Henschel, the next MIO we're going to put some points in. I like to grab stuff that gives me soft attack. The closest, though, are down here. So a little bit of armor and defense, then a little bit of soft attack, and then some production bonuses down here. Production bonuses mean you make more of the stuff. If you make more of the stuff, you have an easier time. Then we'll grab the soft attack over here, a little bit of breakthrough, maybe some speed. Denmark is also going to offer you a trade proposal. Now, this looks nice. However, it comes with the 10% consumer goods factor penalty. I don't need the supply right now. I have 2 more years of buildup, and during that buildup, I want my consumer goods to go to factories, not the people. So we have no need for Danish products. Keep your Legos. I do love Legos, though. Anyway, we are also going to get to work on a Flammpanzer. Another joyous occasion. Rudolf Hess has finished optimizing the Reichsservice, which is a pretty nice upgrade. You go into your decisions, and now you have these little crane icons on the map. For 50 political power, you'll be able to get an extra build slots in all states in the specific region, plus a 10% construction speed for a year and a half. We're going to be doing that in the places we'll be building the most. And it's most likely going to be Western Germany, Southern Germany, and Central Germany. That should give you the majority of the stuff you need. Now, there's also Eastern Germany, which gives you Breslau and Oberen Niederschlesien. Depends on if you want it or not. You're gonna lack a little bit of oomph there, because we're not really doing anything in Eastern Prussia, and we're not going to be doing anything in Posen, Gdynia, or Danzig. So you could do it. It doesn't really matter all that much. The 3 I've already highlighted are the ones you really want to aim for. As we're getting points for Focke-Wulf, we'll start applying those. Like I said, this guy has so much range and other bonuses. It is just a really good designer. So this is usually the trait queue I use, so you can take a quick look at that and apply it as you see fit. Just focus on getting range on your light aircraft first. And Japan has done the thing. It has gone to war with China. A good place as any to send more troops. Now, this is not going to be as straightforward as it used to be. There are new players here. The entire premise of the air zones and the location of the air bases has changed, so we're going to have to change accordingly. We're going to send volunteers to Chiang Kai-shek. We'll take those 6 divisions we got from Austria as well as air volunteers. And usually you'd send them to the airbase in Beijing, which no longer exists. So in our case, we're going to have to send them to the airbase in Qingdao. And the 6 divisions have arrived. We'll give them a leader, von Witzleben, and I'm going to park them somewhere along here, with the goal being to keep the airbase at Qingdao in Chinese hands, and maybe repel the Japanese from Shandong. I'm also going to hire Heinz Guderian now. He is going to give us a 15% mastery gain from our entire doctrine, so mobile warfare. Plus, he makes our tanks quicker. I love him already. I've also moved the infrastructure up to the top to expedite our completion of the construct military infrastructure goal. Right. Having hired Joseph Goebbels, he is going to be replacing Fritz Todt. Fritz Todt has served his purpose. Now it's time for Goebbels to shine. He has some very powerful buffs down here. They're not game-changing in and of themselves, but the extra stability and the extra war support, plus he unlocks Leni Riefenstahl for us. Those are pretty powerful, and I kind of like him. He's a ghoul, absolutely, and a terrible, terrible excuse for a human being. But in-game, his stats are not bad. Next up, we're going to be picking on Operations, Doctrine. Out of all these here, for Germany, in this case, Grand Assault is the way to go. Start getting experience towards that. And we now also have access to radar. We have enough points saved up. This available special project here in the Rhineland will be radar. And on this blessed day, Chiang Kai-shek has annexed this little warlord in Shandong, meaning we can redistribute the air for maximum efficiency. At least we can start shooting down some enemy airplanes, getting more and more air experience, which we'll spend over here. We're going to be grabbing centralized control first. This gives us a straight up 10% mission efficiency buff, which is huge, plus fighter detection. Now, as for Walther, basically this is what I end up with. Anything extra really doesn't matter because it gives bonuses to stuff we won't be using this designer for, so this is what I run with for the most part. This is the point where I hire Hermann Göring, despite having complained that he's a useless asshole for all my life. He's just going to reduce the cost of our fighters. You know, you can always fire him if you want to continue down to the reorganizing the Luftwaffe and solving the logistical bottleneck. And as we get more and more factories, we'll add another 5 to basic close air support. As for Opel, our vehicle designer, trucks mechanized, this is usually the order in which I take things, so take some notes if you want to. And as we're building more and more military factories, we're getting more and more research in. Keep assigning more factories as you like. Things are going well. Let's just keep it going well. Now for the infantry sub-doctrine, couple of picks stand out. Large unit tactics, really good if you're going infantry focused. Assault infantry, however, is going to be more of our jam. We will be using medium flame tanks. We will be using recon. We will be using a lot of support companies. So this is going to be an overall better pick. And we have successfully Sudetenlanded. Huzzah! Glorious. Without Sudetenland experience, might as well hire Erich Raeder for a little bit of extra naval experience as well. And we finished the last of the infrastructure. Huzzah! 50 additional army experience in the bag. I like to grab stuff like building the R&D facility since I tend to build them anyway. Yugoslavia at some point is going to request airplanes. Just give them some fighters or some bombers from your supply. 6 months of reduced consumer goods. Good. More faster construction. Yes, more quick. I speak English good. And if you don't have the No Step Back DLC, simply produce the best medium tank you can. You won't have to design anything. It's just going to be a design called medium tank. Make it. If you do have No Step Back, follow along. We'll take a basic medium, big 3-man turret. We'll add a flamethrower. Bear with me. We're going to add a basic radio, some wet ammo storage, and then 2 heavy machine guns, Christie suspension, and then get a little bit of armor on there. A little bit of engine. This is going to bring it to 7.5 if we're feeling frisky. So this is going to be designated as a flame tank. And you'll notice it costs me exactly 0 XP to design. That's because when you develop the flame tank, you get a 100% cost reduction on the first design you make. That is a flame tank. Now I'll let you in on a secret. This is also our actual tank. All we have to do to get it to be our actual tank is replace the flamethrower with a medium howitzer. We can get the engine up a little bit to compensate for that. For the low cost of 4 experience instead of whatever it would cost to design this, we now have our medium tank. We're going to start putting like 2 factories on basic medium flame tanks. And then we're going to get a production run of the Panzer 3s using Henschel. Like 15, 20 mediums. Easiest way to get those initial factories on there as well is just to take 10 away from the infantry equipment and then put them back in the infantry equipment. The reason I'm doing this is I'm going to consume Czechoslovakia next. I'll get a lot of Czech guns. I don't need any more equipment than what I can comfortably produce within the next year and a half. And at the same time, I can jumpstart the production of a nice amount of medium tanks for our armored core. There we go, the fate of Czechoslovakia. I just picked the top option, creates a puppet state, gives us war support, and it gives us compliance in the area, and we use the Czechoslovak gold. I usually just set up Slovakia as a puppet state. I don't really have to bother with it too much that way. By now, our entire military has finished training, and they're all up to level 3. We are, however, going to keep exercising, because as the army exercises, it's going to add more progress to all of these sub-doctrines, at least the relevant ones, and the more of these we can get before the war starts, the better off we are. We are going to be adding another 15 factories to small airframes. Yes. We've just finished coal liquefaction, and that's our cue to switch from Organization Todt over to Autarky Efforts. This will increase the construction speed for refineries as well as the research speed for synthetics. Now, we're going to build synthetic refineries in the areas that have the highest infrastructure. You know, something like that. It's a very respectable amount. We're going to finish up these factories that are almost done, and then we're going to drag these to the top. We have a lot of factories already, but we're going to start sprinkling in synthetic refineries so that we can get our own source of rubber. Rubber is always going to be problematic for a country like Germany to have, simply because all of it is in Southeast Asia, is in the hands of either France or the Netherlands or the UK. 3 people you're going to fight. So onwards and upwards, we'll make this Germany great again. We are up to, well, 77 mils. We still have about a year to go. We can build more. And one more doctrine, I always get field engineering here. It's just always good, it's never bad. So the war hasn't started yet, we have a lot of time before it starts. And we have all doctrines unlocked, and we're working our way down them steadily. As for air, we're going to be grabbing airspace dominance for the fighters, and for strike aircraft, we are grabbing flying artillery. And we have freed up some additional space here. So we'll bring in another set of fighters just to tussle with the Japanese. As we get more and more fighters in stockpile, I'm going to start deploying them and exercising them until they're at least level 3. Time to develop Reassert. Whoops, I accidentally exploited the Goebbels Treaty. I had a double click go on there. Don't do this. Develop Reassert material would be a good time now. And we've won in Spain. Huzzah! Those 6 units can come back home. While we're waiting for them to get back home, let's take a look at the design. We'll make this bigger, we'll add motorized to it, and we'll add a little bit of armor to it. We'll use medium tanks. We don't have enough medium tanks to fill this, obviously, but we will get that eventually. Probably going to aim for something like this. A 36 with armor division, with medium tanks and motorized, and these lights will also switch out for mediums as time progresses. And these 6 guys over here are still holding the line so we can do the air stuff. And the armor that has now come home, I'll put them in Berlin for a while. They can exercise as well. It's going to cost us a couple of tanks. It's going to cost us a little bit of fuel and equipment. But again, it is going to get us more progress on those doctrines. I'm going to queue up another army of 24 infantry. They will be useful in the future. It's also a good time to go to extensive conscription at this point, since manpower is, well, maybe not running low, but you know, more is better. So we've just finished our improved fire control system, which is very valuable. We're now going to go into our navies, and we're going to take the Schlesien and the Schleswig-Holstein, our 2 battleships. First off, we're going to add the MIO Blom and Voss to it, and we're going to replace the fire control here, Fire Control 0, with Fire Control 2. This is basically a non-issue to refit. It's going to take us, what, 50 days at most? They're going to be faster, they're going to be better at targeting, they're going to just become better ships. We can also invest a little bit more by upgrading the secondary batteries to secondary battery 2 as well. Now, if you're refitting ships, no matter what ship, modules to never refit are the engines. Refitting these, you might as well build a new ship. It takes about the same time, the main guns, and the armor. Anyway, we've made our changes. We are now going to upgrade our ship to the new Deutschland A-Klasse. It's going to take 77 days, unless if we use the Germania Werft, it's going to be a little bit faster because of the extra production output on the Germania Werft. Might as well do it that way. I'll do it for the Schleswig-Holstein and the Schlesien. Also queue up 2 more armor divisions. Might be unrealistic to expect them to finish, but, you know, production is going along nicely. I think we can comfortably get everything done. Also, with our finishing of dive bombers, we've unlocked access to Ugo Sperle, Close Air Support Expert. Pretty nice addition to all the bombing we're doing in China, and it'll be useful in the future. Same deal with Ferdinand Schona, a welcome addition to the team. But again, you'll find all of our political power picks at the bottom in the description. We finished maintenance companies 2. We'll go back to our tanks, specifically the basic mediums. First, those are the ones that we're going to make the most of. We are going here, wet ammunition storage, and we're going to replace it with easy maintenance. Slightly less reliability, but they will become so much less expensive, and we'll get cheap tanks all the way. And now that these newer ships like the Scharnhorst and soon Gneisenau come off the production line, we can also immediately refit them. The retrofit is going to cost 84 days to complete with the correct amount of dockyards. Annoyingly, we no longer have access to one of the best spirits of the Navy, the naval refit yards, which significantly speeds up naval refitting. This one is inexplicably locked behind fleet in being because famously, only nations with a fleet in being concept were able to make refits to their ships. Why? Because I don't know. Paradox hates me, I guess. Anyway. More army experience. Let's quickly assign maneuver warfare. Basically, army side of things, we're done. The exercising will bring us more than where we need to go. We'll get all of these most of these doctrines done that way. If Bulgaria seeks you some Balkan claims, top option's fine. Doesn't really matter. Now the war is close and I've made the final changes to my templates. For the infantry, it's basically exactly what we start with, but this is the time where we add the support anti-air. We've been able to produce almost enough to fully get everyone outfitted. Yep. As for the armor, we made those last changes here. So these last 3 light tanks will be switched out for medium tanks. Just need to produce a couple more. As for our support, I have gone with armored recon, assault engineers, support artillery, medium flame tanks, and support anti-air. For Western Europe, you don't really need logistics yet. I'd rather have the extra soft attack from support artillery. Next step, declare war and democracy. Either way, the war is close. I'm just going to stop training. We're close enough to all the doctrine milestones that it doesn't really matter that much. Just going to get everyone their organization back, everyone organized. We'll assign everyone to their positions, and we'll assign some generals just before the war ends. We have our Auftragtaktik. This is the point where we say goodbye to Ludwig Beck and hello to Franz Halder. Welcome aboard, sir. And this is pretty close to the final stretch. The Buna Werke and then Danzig Or War. This is going to give us 2 extra rubber per synthetic refinery, which is incredibly powerful. I'm going to leave von Weichs in charge of my tanks. I'm going to promote von Manstein to a field marshal, and he can command the tank corps in his capacity as a field marshal. The main field army will be commanded by von Rundstedt, and then the armies will simply assign decent generals everywhere. I prefer to get infantry leaders if I can, and the last army should also be ready soon. I'm simply going to force deploy them. They're almost done anyway. They won't really serve an active role just yet. I'm going to put them on the border with Denmark, and they can start planning the invasion, and I'll take 12 of them away. 2 groups of 6, and we'll start planning a naval invasion from Hamburg here to Kristianstad over there, and then a second group of 6 guys is going to plan an invasion from Wilhelmshaven towards the tile next to Kristiansand. So they have changed how naval invasions work. It depends on your research, but you're now limited in the amount of invasions you can do. It's either 1, 2, and it goes up with research and other stats. And you can only assign a total of 6 and then 8 and then more as you get more research to those invasions. Plus the invasions now take at a minimum of 60 days. That will always get reduced down once again with research. What we have is sufficient. It's going to take us about 50 days and a good amount of naval dominance. Might even get the armor fully switched over before the war starts. Wouldn't that be something? Oh, I've looked away from Japan for a while, and it's all gone tits up. I guess we're still getting experience from this, and the Air Force is still Air Forcing, so... Well, hey, Italy wants to join the faction. Welcome aboard. We have the Buna Werke. We are now going to start the final one before the war. Danzig Or War. This should give us a more or less historical date to start the war in Western Europe. Ooh, we can also invite the Kingdom of Romania to our faction. Why not? So, just to verify, everyone is in position except for the armor. We're going to take the armor. We're going to take... let's remove their order. We're going to take 4 of them. And we're going to park them here on these 4 tiles. So they're on the plains tiles in western Poland with an attack order up through Lutsk towards Warsaw. And these two guys are going to go up here. They're going to sit on that tile, and then they will drive down these plains towards Plock, like so, and they will meet the other spearhead near Warsaw. This should be a very quick victory. We're going to give the infantry guy offensive doctrine, aggressive assault, or division recovery rate. Also just finished our improved small airframe, and let's put those into production. We're going to get a big fat engine. We're going to slam that top row full of heavy machine guns. The armor plate. We're going to add another armor plate, and we're going to add a self-sealing fuel tank. Range is not quite where I want it to be, but we're already getting an impressive 35% extra range from Focke-Wulf, and as Focke-Wulf upgrades more and more, it is going to give us even more range, and we're going to do the same with our other air support. For instance, we're going to take improved CAS, bigger, fatter engine, more bomb locks for the bomb lock gods, some dive brakes, extra fuel tanks, and an armor plate should give you plenty of range. And for the naval bomber, improved small airframe, big fat engine, a small torpedo, extra fuel tanks for range, and some floats. Put this one on with Fiesler. Rubber is going to be an issue, but not much you can do about it other than build more synthetics. And we're going to do this one ship per fleet. These 3 ships are going to be on patrol in the eastern North Sea, in the Danish belts here, and in the lower Baltic, where the main fleet will put on strike force in those same 3 areas. Dönitz can command the submarines, Lutjens can command the surface fleets, and we'll give him a cruiser captain along with destroyer leader. So the purpose of the big fleet is to intercept whatever the small ships these 3 individuals find out on their patrol. The patrol is going to add naval presence, and the strike force is going to magnify that naval presence by a certain factor. You always need a patrol out, but if you send everyone out to patrol, kind of shit, because it costs you all of your fuel. As for here, the screens get integrated operations, good for those cruisers to get buffed. Capital ships, I'll be honest, I'm not really sure which of these is the best. I just like this one. Though line of battle is also not bad. Might as well go with that. Carriers, irrelevant. We don't have any. And on submarines, I just get wolf packs. And there we go. Poland refuses the German ultimatum. So final check. I have fighters up over Western Germany to stop any Allied bombing. Same deal with Northwest Germany. I have naval invasions planned for Norway and a land invasion planned for Denmark. As for Poland, we have a full army in Eastern Prussia, ready to charge, and then 2 armies in a field marshal on the border with Germany. And then our armor in select places to effect a large-scale pincer. What do I do with my armor? I find plains tiles, and those determine my axis of advance. I try to push towards supply hubs like Lutsk along railways to cut off the enemy from that supply line and to give me that supply hub to move on to the next stage like Warsaw, Siedlce, and then further on and on and on. You don't just want to push the enemy's units back mindlessly by pressing this big red button. Very fun if it works, but it's very expensive. You want to be methodical about it. So let's slow the game down and see how methodical we're going to be. Then we get this event. Poland refuses to cede Danzig. This will give us the actual war goal and cores on Danzig and Gdynia. Click that. Now we declare war. We're not going to call any of our allies in. We don't need them. They're a liability. This is going to draw us into a war with the UK and by extension the Allies, which includes the French, which is why I have troops on the French border. You might think, the French would never move off the Maginot. They didn't really do much historically. Yes, you're right. But if you don't put troops here, they will advance on you. What we're going to do now is select the armor and make concentrated pushes right on through, working our way through the plains tiles towards those critical points I said before, like Plock up there, like Warsaw, like Lutsk. And down here, we're going to drive on south, and we're going to try and meet in the middle, seize Warsaw. The air is up on air superiority with close air support. Let's have some fun. This is the best part. Over here, we'll take 2 units and pin this unit into place, and this unit will walk into Danzig. Danzig starts out and remains demilitarized until the lead up to the war, at which point you can simply cap it for free. These guys over there attack Gdynia to prevent any units from reinforcing Danzig. Next up, the future of the German rearmament program. I recommend you pick the top option. This turns your MIFO bills into an economy of conquest. This gives you the option to seize gold reserves after you've capitulated a country, and it also retires Hjalmar Schacht, somebody we will have to replace. Economy of conquest is basically MIFO bills, but, you know, mask off. The negatives still apply and they still climb up at a steady rate, but you have the option to seize gold to reduce it. And if you play your cards right, you won't really have to worry about it too much. Long story short, don't do the bottom option, just pick the top. Anyway, the armor, the air, everything is working in concert to do unspeakable things to the Polish state. And they will really not be able to do much about it. So the US is blockading us. Unfortunate, they will prevent oil from Venezuela reaching us. With our war with the Allies now on, it's going to be very hard to get anything traded. We are getting blockaded. Kinda sucks. Not much we can do about it other than wait for the French to die. Until then, we are going to be very, 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 very short on rubber, which means I'm going to prioritize fighter production. So I'm going to move that to the top. All the rubber that I do have available is going into those fighters. Anyway, we've completed that encirclement that we had going on. The tanks are driving towards each other. Now, we're going to reposition the armor near Lutsk, and their goal is to attack into Warsaw. They're going to drive down here. They're going to drive south into Krakow, Kielce, Katowice. Are basically going to run to all of these separate little victory points to capitulate the Polish. As for these front lines, we're going to clean them up. We're going to make sure the Field Marshal Order, that's the thin line, covers everything. And we'll integrate these armies into the Field Marshal. They belong to the Field Marshal anyway. How you do that is you hold control and right-click the little choppy line. That selects the units assigned to the little choppy line. Hold control and simply click the Field Marshal's line, and that will assign them to this line. And then just extend it so the Field Marshal covers everything. Oh, great. This is currently weird because it's a circle. The game doesn't really handle circles well. Hold Shift and do a Field Marshal line by clicking, and it will draw a perfect circle instead of you trying to do it manually, which doesn't work. All right. It's been 3 days. I wonder how long it will take for the Poles to die. And we'll just drive to all these various victory points. Get the supply hubs, get the victory points. Bring Poland to its knees. They're already 84% towards capitulation, and the war has gone on for 5 days. I'd say that's pretty solid in my book. We're gonna need to take Poznan here. We'll use the infantry, just bum rush it. And there goes Poland. We take 21,000 guns and some assortment equipment. Huzzah! Now, we're going to take the entire Field Marshal and we're going to put it on the Dutch border. We're going to integrate the army that was on the Dutch border as well. The Dutch are the gateway into Western Europe. Now we're going to take the armor as well, all 6 of them, and we're going to put them on these 3 tiles just above the river of near Arnhem. Attack order towards The Hague and Rotterdam. The Air Force, again, will pivot over to the Low Countries. And then the other fighters we can spread around to tangle with whatever the Allies put up. And we're going to split off every one of those basic cruisers that we produce as we produce them to eventually consolidate this into 2 packs. So 2 by 2, 2 units of 2. And we'll simply put the operational areas in Eastern North Sea and the Danish belts. We no longer need to operate in the lower Baltic. Poland's dead and they're not going to come back to haunt us. I got a couple of extra dockyards by taking Danzig and Gdynia, and we'll put them to work making more of this basic cruiser design. It's lovely. Now we'll use Germania Werft to make them because we get a 5% production output bonus. It's more ships. You know, more ships is more gooder. Now we'll use 150 PP to hire, where you hiding, Walter Funk to replace the dearly departed Hjalmar Schacht for that consumer goods bonus and the lack of resources penalty. The volunteers that have come back from China, we can now park on the Yugoslav border. Might make some fun time over there. And as you can tell, we are really trading very favorably with the Allied airplanes. Basically, wherever they've shown up, we are shooting them down in respectable numbers. I'm also setting all the sea zones around the British Isles to avoid for now, just to force my supply lines and my import lines to go around the area so they don't sail directly through Britain's warships. There we go. we have around the Maginot. So we're going to make sure that we have units on this little border with Belgium, on this little border with Luxembourg, and of course we're still manning the Maginot. Up north, we are going to declare war on the Low Countries one after another in a very specific order. But first, Weserubung. So, what I'm going to do is declare war on the Netherlands and not call any of my allies in. The Netherlands is very accessible. The terrain here lends itself well to armored warfare. So I'm going to ram my armor right through the plains of the Netherlands, drive along to Utrecht, Amsterdam, The Hague, Rotterdam. With that armor push, within 7 days, less than 7 days, I can have them knocked out of the war just like that, at a snap of my fingers. What I'm not going to do is also immediately declare war on Belgium. Belgium only has one border tile with us that they can stack basically their entire military on, plus it's a forest, plus it gets a couple of defensive bonuses. So we're going to have a push towards Utrecht, Rotterdam, The Hague, and Amsterdam, and we'll just blitz right on through. Beautiful, and just like that, they're dead. I think that took me 2 days. The advantage of pushing in that direction is, the main one is that we now have access to the unprotected northern flank of Belgium. Now, it will not remain unprotected, which is why I've paused the game here. The Belgian army is, for the most part, around here in the Ardennes. Up here is relatively undefended, and it's relatively close to where our armor naturally ends up after taking out the Netherlands. So we're going to send that armor to these two tiles, the tile of Breda and the tile just above Antwerp. And the next step will be to plow that armor into Antwerp and Brussels. Now, Belgium also capitulates the normal way, but they do capitulate via event if you have Götterdämmerung. That will force them to give up if they lose one of their states that is not the Ardennes, and they will lose Antwerp the second you take Antwerpen. If you do not have Götterdämmerung, all you have to do is push Antwerpen, Brussels, Kortrijk, Ghent, these northern plains, and keep driving your armor south through the French northern plains towards the supply hub of Amiens, Dieppe, Le Havre. We're basically making a straight cut all the way south to the Seine mouth, and then we turn inland towards Paris. And that is all the French territory you need to take. You can see the Belgians here are redeploying, so speed is of the essence. We're going to declare war now. Again, we're not calling our allies in, and we're just going to hit Antwerp, Ghent, Brussels. We're going to hit it, and we're going to hit it hard. Wait, who just blockaded me? Fuck Japan! Oh, I'm sorry, this is a guy's and I'm supposed to know what I'm doing, but that's genuinely the first time I've ever seen Japan do that. Wow. Anyway, as for our cut through Belgium, it's going all according to plan. Head to Lille, Calais, and then south Amiens, Le Havre, Rouen. Armor leads the way, the infantry follows behind. There goes Belgium, capitulated via event, and we keep adjusting the front lines accordingly so that we're always at, well, in the thick of it. Time to avenge the Versailles Treaty. Around here, what I like to do is create my own little Dunkirk pocket. See if we can trap some troops in Dunkirk. This time, not really a bountiful harvest. Sometimes you can catch a lot of British troops there. So I'm still completing the cut towards Le Havre. The armor goes through them like the enemy isn't even there. That gives us control of the ports of Dieppe and Le Havre, as well as the supply hub near Amiens. And that is enough of a supply benefit if you open up the channel again. That should give us the supply the army needs to head further inland towards Paris. They're already halfway towards capitulation, and on historical, the French have a disjointed government, meaning surrender limit is reduced by 50%, so it's basically cut in half. It's not a good time to be French. And French armor thunders into Paris, and they are 100% towards capitulation. And that took us. How long did that take us? 9 days. 9 days. Oh, that's even better. While I'm at it, I'm going to quickly declare war on Luxembourg. They're there, and their presence offends me. They'll just attack the city of Luxembourg. They'll join the Allies. You kill them. Have a great day. There go the French. Huzzah! And I've been embargoed by the US. Tant pis. Such is life. And we will establish Vichy France. And we can trade with the Vichy French. Lovely. Now, we're going to mop up what's left on the continent. Usually I use my armor to do it. They're relatively quick. They should be able to get in and out without too much difficulty. As for trade, we can now have very profitable, very bountiful trade with the Vichy French, who still control some of the rubber in the area. And we now once again have access to trade with Siam. So we get rubber, meaning we can build airplanes at maximum efficiency. And we're going to start putting up our fighters over Western France and Northern France. Couple hundred fighters in each zone, just to deter enemies from bombing you here. And then we're going to put all remaining fighters, every single one of them that we can find near Calais. We are going to start the Blitz. What we're going to do is put those fighters up over Britain, and we're going to force Britain to come out and play. They will put fighters up either over southern England, over the English Channel, and sometimes over the Benelux region. Wherever they put their fighters, we are going to counter them and to do as much damage as we possibly can to them. Looks like we have, for the most part, green skies all around. I haven't even called any of my allies into the war. Probably should. By the time we are ready to invade the UK, I will be calling Italy into the war to serve as a big fat distraction. Speaking of big fat distractions, we also have Yugoslavia down there that we can probably nibble at. Anyway, the Navy is out here playing tag with some smaller British task forces, so our control should rise slowly over time towards the maximum amount. Strike Force is out, the Naval Patrol is out. It says it will increase until 1,000 yada yada yada, which should be well above the required control. We have the required control to make that passing. Air Forces multiply the control that a Navy can exercise. We should be able to launch this naval invasion as soon as we're ready, which will be in about 13 days. And I'll put some more towards fighters. 50 should do, and then a couple more on CAS. Rubber is always going to remain a bit of an issue, but we'll work our way through it. No sweat, it's going to be fine. Now, while we're merrily waiting to invade Denmark and Norway, we might as well justify a war goal on Yugoslavia. It takes 10 days to political power. It's cheap, it's easy, it's free. We'll get that war goal in. Romania is guaranteeing their independence. I have invited them to my faction, so that will be irrelevant. Now, you might be able to tell our economy of conquest is over here. It's not doing very well. Consumer goods are at like 59.5. Now, how do we do away with those? Well, we steal people's gold, and depending how large the economy we're seizing is, the effect it has is going to be substantially larger or less large. In this case, if we seize the Polish gold reserves, our consumer goods factor is reduced by 30%. It's going to piss off all of the areas we've occupied, yes, but it makes our economy better, so haha. Same with the French. Again, we're going to steal their gold. Haha, that's 50 political power. And now our economy of conquest is negative instead of a almost 60% penalty. It's an 8.5% bonus. Giggity. Now, if you want your Navy to actually do stuff, set them to never repair and engage at high risk. 2 of our light cruisers are engaging a small task force, and once the big Navy shows up, yeah, they're turning tail and running. We should be able to shred them if they don't run away too quickly. Yeah, we're doing reasonably significant damage. Should be able to sink some of their ships. Down here we have our war goal. We're simply going to declare war on Yugoslavia, get them involved as well. I've sent my armor over there. I could battle plan this, or I could simply ignore it. I've chosen to ignore it. I'm going to walk through there with an army of infantry as well as my armor. I have the port of Brest and put Saalwachter in charge there. Yugoslavia joins the Allies. It just becomes another stepping stone. Eat. We've also finished the Weserubung, so we're going to declare war on Denmark. Now, Denmark is funny because I think it takes like 4 hours and they will surrender. Denmark surrender. Pick the top option. We will protect them. There we go. Now we have signed a white peace with the Danes. They are now our puppet. We'll move the 12 units I had earmarked for the invasion over to the northern naval base near Aalborg. 2 tactical bombers up over there. Anyway, while we're waiting for that, let's get our Molotov-Ribbentrop pact in so we don't have to worry about that. It just buys us a little bit of time. Croatia has also formed out of Yugoslavia. Always happens. Simply invite them to the faction. Good friends. And continue on with the butchery of the Yugoslav armed forces. Yeah, look at this Navy work. They're doing some good work. A lot of people joining this war. Whew. And it appears, yep, Croatia has called in Italy and Romania. Yeah, looking at this, the Navy does perform. Our Navy is smaller, but they are relatively high-quality ships compared to whatever the British still have. So they will win most naval engagements unless they are horrifically outnumbered. Yeah, 1 destroyer for 12 destroyers and 2 light cruisers is a fair trade. Alright, we have the naval superiority we need to launch our invasion. We're going to declare war on the Norwegians next. We are going to take the air forces we had also just assigned to the north of Jutland, and we'll put them up over southern Norway. Naval invasions will hit Kristiansand and the tile above it. Should be no sweat. Norway joins the Allies and Sweden embargoes us. Don't worry, we have ways of opening up Sweden's resource vaults. That's a couple of good hits on the enemy navies. Love to see it. And our navy is virtually intact. Any ship that looks particularly damaged, I'm individually going to send back to port, but for the most part, I'm going to keep these guys out at sea and killing. Trade with Sweden is cancelled, so we'll trade with Portugal. At least put the Portuguese understand our feelings on the matter. Yugoslavia is as good as dead. Alright, naval invasion of Norway has gone off without a hitch. They barely had a defense. We'll take the entire army here, the entire green army that we had assigned to the Nordics, and simply start an offensive northward on an aggressive battle plan. And we'll just walk through. As soon as we take the airfield near Oslo, we'll redeploy this little bit of the air force over there. The goal is going to be take Stavanger, take Oslo, and then Bergen, then push up to Trondheim. That should see Norway capitulate. That was the air war going over here. They are fighting back a little bit, and I am having slight difficulties. They have radar up, so they have better enemy air detection. Our radar is getting deployed and is getting developed, but it's only level 1, so it won't have the coverage to reach. Best way to handle that is to simply bring more fighters. It seems like they haven't really bothered bombing us yet, so we'll pull all of those over the English Channel and over the southern half of England. That should bring up the troop numbers. Oh, the moment I do that, they bring up bombers. Typical. We're trading very favorably, though. Yeah, the moment the numbers become a little bit more even, trade becomes extremely favorable to us. Alright, we've killed off Yugoslavia, and now we have a disgusting looking independent state of Croatia there. Wonderful. The armor will bring back north near Lille and Calais, and that infantry unit, I couldn't care less what we do with it, just park it somewhere in France. And the infantry is basically overrunning Norway without a hitch. Sinking some more of Britain's small-ish navy. This event also pops up on historical. Keep pressuring Sweden until the last event where you ask military access. Simply keep demanding more and more and more and more. On historical, Sweden never says no. Unless you are actively losing the war, which we're not. Alright, set course to Trondheim along this railway. Once we get to Trondheim, Norway is out of the picture as well. Anyway, with all that out of the way, we need to look back to Europe. We're going to take 6 divisions from any army near here, any infantry army from Dunkirk. We're going to land them near Dover. And then we're going to take another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to take those. And we'll land in the tile between Dover and Portsmouth. We don't have the luxury of creating many separate invasions anymore. It's just going to be 2 with 6 divisions each. Is it optimal? No. Would I prefer Marines? Probably. Is it going to work? Most likely. And there goes Norway. Huzzah! Same time as the Ribbentrop Pact. Now, the army that has conquered Norway, I'm going to make it easy on myself. I'm not going to pull them out of Norway. I'm simply going to garrison Norway and just the Norwegian coast, so I'll just guard the naval bases. These guys are going to go up there to prevent the British from doing something stupid. Now, the Swedes had just embargoed us earlier. We are going to make some demands to Sweden. If they accept, and they will accept, they will give us the rights to all the resources in Västerbotten. That's this place. They're going to give us a lot of tungsten, some steel, and chromium, and they will never say no. With that out of the way, we are going to get the entire navy repaired, just a little bit of R&R for now, and then we're going to park them in the channel for some much-needed Royal Navy hunting. And Moscow signs the pact. Huzzah! We get the partitioning of Poland as well as part of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. You can just obey it. You don't want to give the Soviets a war goal right now. We have other fish to fry. Alright, with that navy basically repaired, what we're going to do is, again, set them to not repair, engage at high risk. And we're going to set the patrol now to the English Channel. And we're going to take the strike force and we're going to set them to be, well, a strike force in the channel. They can abort their repairs. I'll take the one destroyer off and just manually repair it. It should be fun to see. And naval dominance should increase over the next 50 days until the value is reached that we need. We need 150 to make it happen. We can push it to 710. We can augment that by taking these naval bombers and putting them up over the English Channel. And now we're basically just waiting until this gets planned and this can launch in a couple of days, weeks, months. Hopefully not years. Well, there go our demands to Sweden. And I believe Sweden always says yes in our circumstances. Yep, Sweden accepts our deal. Naval stuff currently is a little bugged in the missions getting stuck, so that's very unfortunate. And I do believe it's decided to start working again. It feels like it decided to start working again, because I'm actually projecting power now with the High Seas Fleet. Alright, so yeah, I had to destroy the fleet and reform it. But it is actually getting my dominance up, and the British dominance has gone down. Yeah, the Navy's actually coming out to play now. Hate it when stuff like that breaks. Very annoying. Anyway, we've definitely won the air war. They have nowhere near enough numbers to stop us. They've got a couple of bombers up. That's irrelevant. And we have all we need to launch our naval invasion. Sea Line isn't for another 20 days. That would give us a relatively significant naval invasion bonus, but I don't need to wait for it. We're just going to launch now. With all that going on, we're going to go back to our close air support, and we're going to move them to airports closer to the action. And then make sure to bring in CAS support. They're going to need all the help they can get landing, but it does look like they'll make it. So 800 CAS, and then 400 more. Put them all up over southern England, and we will shunt aside any feeble defense they have, bring a full infantry army ashore now, and start marching north aggressively. We're going to take our 8 armored units and we're going to bring them in as well. And as soon as the armor lands, it is all over. There's nothing they can do to stop these tanks. Glorious CAS damage. The armies of Germany march north into the fields of the United Kingdom. Beautiful. Truly beautiful. And the Navy is still doing quite well. Yeah, we've got this area pretty much on lockdown, I'd say. Create encirclements and push for those victory hubs. Sorry, victory points. Supply hubs and victory points. The fall of London. Key areas to take will be Bristol, London, obviously, Ipswich, and then further north, Birmingham, Nottingham, Sheffield, and then the line between Liverpool and Hull. And then it's just the last dash north to the juicy prize of Allied capitulation. Now, if there are any other countries you'd like to involve in this peace deal, now is the time to quickly justify a war goal on them and draw them into this fight with the Allies. Italy always picks on Greece, so it would not be a terrible idea, you know, they're gonna go for a war with Greece, to just quickly justify a war goal on Greece and bring them into this war. If we justify them, it takes like 10 days. Easily bring them in, and it will save you the pain of you winning this war, Italy declaring war on Greece, and Greece joining the Chinese United Front. Now with this war pretty much won, let's build ourselves a spy agency. Hey, Operation Sea Lion. Better late than never. While we're at it, let's also get Operation Green. War goal against the Irish. Might as well. I'm gonna halt all operations because it looks like the UK is going to capitulate in, well, any second now. Oh, I think I might have taken a tile. Oh no, they're not capitulating yet. Alright, nobody move. Nobody move! Alright, we'll bring Greece into the mix. Well, while we're waiting for this all to wrap up, I'm gonna queue up another 96 infantry divisions. Got plenty of equipment, plenty of divisions. Just need to build some AA guns and some support equipment. And I just realized I don't really need to do the focus. That's gonna take 21 days. You know what? I could just justify a war goal. It takes 10 days. How about we Tannenbaum instead, which is Switzerland. I just need to hold back from killing the British for another... Oh god, that's close. For another 70 days. And we've declared war on the Irish. That should get them involved in a peace deal as well. I'm gonna be real with you. I just realized I completely forgot to use my campaign instructions. So, a little talk about campaign instructions. These, when clicked, they give you a 45-day bonus to fighting. I'll just show you now because it really doesn't matter. I'll do it against Greece, for instance. What that does is all the territory controlled by the target for the 45 days duration gets this armor division attack and additional breakthrough, and you can improve those as well by taking zoom. More focuses here. Panzer Grenadiers upgrades the Blitzkrieg. Kummersdorf modifies the Blitzkrieg some more. You can upgrade this to have another 5% attack and breakthrough on armor, and then you can get another 10% attack on mechanized and motorized. So it's really powerful, and I've just completely forgot to use it because I didn't need it. The Royal Navy is in a shambles, and the glorious German High Seas Fleet is just butchering the enemies. These are all level 5 veterans now, not to mention just the balls on these light cruisers. Oh, love it. What I don't love is the Swiss. Now I need to wait for the Swiss to die. And with our newfound espionage agency, it's a good plan to start spying on the Americans. Spoiler, they're next on the chopping block, and the Swiss will stop being a problem in 10 days, hopefully. And then we can finish off this war. We just need to knock out the war leader, the faction leader, in this case the United Kingdom, and all of these countries will topple like dominoes. Yes. Alright, that is Operation Tannenbaum. We'll take whatever forces we still have left in Europe, put them on the Swiss border, just so they can, you know, beat against the the Swiss a little bit, and get them well and truly involved in the war, and then we can get this all over with. Time to declare that war. Might as well call my allies. Alright, with those guys in, it's just time to drive over here to the new castle. I don't know why they call it New Castle, it's quite old, and then on to Edinburgh, if that's not enough. The Swiss have joined the Allies, huzzah. And there we go. Everyone has capitulated. We now have one big fat peace deal where we can do what we want. And what we want to do is take everything. And by take everything, I mean we're going to be doing a lot of puppeting. Just straight up occupation is rarely a good idea. We are obviously going to take all of Poland, because it's our land. And we're going to take all of Belgium. We're going to take all of Luxembourg, all of continental Netherlands. We're going to take all of continental France as well. We'll take all of Switzerland except for, or is it Ticino down there? That we can give to Italy. The independent state of Croatia can have some stuff it has claims on. I really don't care that much. And then we'll just go around puppeting pretty much everything else out there. From New Zealand to Canada, Ireland, everything. And with this peace deal, we have created a monstrous axis that has taken over all of the former French and British holdings. And now it's time to ship our armies over across the pond because we have another target here in the good old US of A. All of our armor as well. And we're going to have a jolly good time romping across the Americas. Next step, we're going to bypass Hochbenzin. We're going to start the Reichswerke. And a lot of the fascist countries out there are now very interested in joining our faction. I'm going to let them in because it's funny. I'm going to build up a couple of air bases in the eastern parts of Canada bordering the US, which is where I will be harboring my air force for the strike. I've also force deployed all of those infantry units we were training up, and they will take on the bulk of the fighting in the eastern front. And then we have the 8 armor units here will function as a spearhead, and we could queue up a few additional Panzer divisions. Time to break the US cipher. It's going to take a while, but realistically we don't need it. We've also managed to steal quite a bit of a navy. And by a bit of a navy, I mean a massive navy, which we'll just integrate into one big fat stack, and we'll move all of our armies in. So we have done all of the industry stuff required to line us up perfectly for autarky achieved. This will turn off the timer on economy of conquest, replacing it with Wirtschaftswunder. Basically a even better version of the economy of conquest, and it sets us up for a functional economy. We've also researched our mechanized equipment. Time to start making some of it. Mechanized is very good in integration with our armored units. Just like that, not all that much different. Nice amount of soft attack, piercing, etc. We also get a improved medium howitzer. I believe we get it with the artillery upgrade 2. So in a couple of seconds, there we go. And we can slap that in there as well. Another big fat chunk of damage added to the mix. Now, at this point, whatever research is concerned, I'm gonna cut you off. This is where you're basically set. The advice I have for you, just keep what you already have up to date. You should have all the tools you need to now proceed. That's what I'm going to do for the rest of this video. I'm going to prepare a collaboration government in the US of A. The purpose of this is just to be able to capitulate them a little bit more quickly. It is always a pain in the ass having to, walk to all the victory points. Now, you might notice that the Soviet Union is justifying against you. Unless I'm mistaken, which I don't think I am, the Soviets are simply going to go for Bessarabia, which Romania will give up. And we have achieved glorious autarky. Time to cross the Atlantic. Just look at that beautiful Wirtschaftswunder. And with that, we can cross the Atlantic. We have our war goal on the US of A. So, got our patrol ships out patrolling. Got our Navy out there on strike force. We have our war goal. We're simply going to declare war. And we're going to call Canada in. Why Canada? Because this man has the face of a supervillain. And we need a way in. We'll just do a solid infantry assault along the front. The US Army is relatively tiny. We have all the air cover we need. And we'll try to reach New York, cut off New England. This should be funny if nothing else. Japan still floundering over there. In preparation of Japan continuing to flounder, maybe we should do the anti-Comintern Pact and start befriending them. Anyway, they are melting. They effectively have nothing to stop us. Germany has grown beyond America's capability of stopping. Hungary, what do you want? All of Transylvania, some of Transylvania, and Transylvania. I'll give them Northern Transylvania. Huzzah! And now they do want to join my faction. Welcome aboard, Horthy. Anyway, while I'm not a proponent of simply battle planning your way through every campaign, in this case, the campaign is won. We have effectively defeated this enemy already. They have 100 divisions. We have 246. We outnumber them 2 to 1. Our economy outnumbers theirs by 3 to 1. I've already killed 700,000 men. This is over. Pockets everywhere, and I'm not even trying. Yeah, a major superpower is not the same thing as nabbing a tin pot dictator in his humble abode, I suppose. Already 75% of the way there. Finland wants a continuation war. Sure. Meanwhile, the Navy is making it's mostly a stolen Navy. It's mostly the Royal Navy, but it's making short work of the US Navy. These are some magnificent engagements. Truly magnificent engagements. While I'm here, might as well justify on the Mexicans. Why Mexico? Okay, they've embargoed me. That's why. Let's get Mexico involved here. Wonder if they'll join America's faction. I suppose that answered that question. They do not, so I'll just have to drive there. And the US is almost dead. 1.4 million casualties, and I wasn't even trying, and I've lost less than 400,000 men. Not the most impressive KD ratio, but it's been very short while, and the US is almost dead. After that, we'll chop up the United Mexican States as well, and we'll have a jolly good time as we prep for the final great enemy of the Reich, the hated Soviet Union. There we go, the United States have capitulated. I don't want to deal with all of this, so I'm going to simply give everything to Canada, and I'll just puppet the Commonwealth, and Puerto Rico, and the islands, and Hawaii. There we go. The good timeline, ladies and gentlemen. Oh no, I just forgot I didn't actually annex the US's fleet. That's on me. Another my bad. Win some, lose some. We'll quickly destroy whatever the Mexicans have, and we'll move our armies back to Europe for the final showdown with the grand villain over there. And there goes Mexico. We'll simply turn them into a puppet. Now we ferry all of our military forces over to Europe for the final showdown. And fascists around the world flock to our banner. Beautiful. Beautiful. This is a big, beautiful faction. Bigly. Huge. Now we've got the Rosenberg office that allows us to create what's called Reichskommissariats. You don't have to do this, but if you're still on economy of conquest for some reason, what the Rosenberg office allows you to do is to spin off conquered territory, so you're no longer holding non-core territory. The reason you don't want to hold on to non-core territory while you have economy of conquest is because it ramps up the rate at which more and more civs get lost to consumer goods. We don't have that anymore, but I just like doing this because it gives me extra countries, gives me new friends. I just really like doing these. And we will more than likely have enough air superiority to not need anti-air in our Panzer division. So I'm going to take the anti-air out and we'll replace it with logistics companies for the Siberian campaign. We also have quite a high amount of organization here. So what I'm going to do is remove these last two trucks and we're going to replace them with 2 more medium tanks. Organization is still quite good. Probably could add another medium tank. 35 orcs still and a lot more armor in this. Though we don't really have enough armor for all of our units. But I think we have enough armor for most of our units. And while we're waiting for the focus to finish, we'll just go over the battle plan. The infantry is spread out over 2 army groups, mostly to ensure that we have sufficient coverage. I have a southern half and a northern half. Then my armor is currently up to 12. I have 2 of them in the north. Their goal will be to cut through these northern plains tiles. These are all or mostly plains, with the idea of cutting off the Courland and then destroying that pocket. Near Białystok, I have 2 tanks north of Białystok, 2 tanks south of it, trying to meet south of Grodno, create a pocket, destroy the pocket. And then the big pincer move, the big sickle cut, I have 4 armor units near Kovel, whose goal will be to push through the plains tiles here, head to Kovel, Rovno, Proskuriv, maybe Venetia, depending on how far I can penetrate, and then cut south towards the Romanian border, with the idea being to create a large pocket here to then destroy. If the Soviet armies have been destroyed closer to your border, so in the initial couple of engagements, you can casually stroll to Leningrad, Moscow, Stalingrad, and keep strolling. Now, we are also building a spy agency in the Soviet Union with the purpose of building collaboration governments. This is one of the spy operations. If you do not have La Resistance, you will not have an intelligence agency. You can completely ignore this. It's not critical, it's not vital, but it makes things a little bit easier. With those collaboration governments, you can bring the Soviets to their knees slightly sooner. With 2 of them, I think they will capitulate if you take Leningrad, Moscow, and Stalingrad. If you get no collaboration governments, you're going to have to push to like Tyumen, maybe even Omsk. The armor, like I said before, all of the motorized has been switched out for mechanized at this point. The speed is virtually unchanged, but these have a lot more breakthrough, a lot more HP, and a lot more armor. These tanks will suffice to deal with the Soviet Union. Now, we do have a non-aggression pact with Japan. We've gotten it through the focus Befriend Japan. This one you kind of want to take before early 1941 to prevent Japan going after you. So this is a pretty big deal. If you don't do that, you don't get a non-aggression pact. Japan will declare war on you. There we go. We have our war with the USSR. They're going to offer you something. Pick whichever takes your fancy. It doesn't really matter. Free generals, whoa. And now we go on to destroy the Soviets. Now, first thing we need to do is cancel the non-aggression pact. We can easily cancel this because we meet all the criteria. We're going to break that non-aggression pact, declare war, and we're not going to call in our allies. Yes, victory is at hand. Finland also joins because of their continuation war. The reason we're not calling our allies in is because we want to use the Romanian border as a barricade, so to speak. We are going to call the general government into the war because, well, they border the area, otherwise we won't be able to advance. So, first up, we are heading to Kovel. From Kovel along this railway to Rovno, if there's still gas in the tank, to Proskuriv. Now over here, we're going Brest-Litovsk, and then we're going to try to meet near Grodno. These armor units can probably go through Suwalki, meet near Grodno as well. Air forces also ready to commit. Air cover up, 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 everywhere. Day and night, air operations. You can tell the armor is pretty much impervious. They can drive through whatever the enemy throws at them. The infantry will continuously follow behind to plug the gaps. They will try to walk. Walking is slow, so every now and then hit Control B and the troops will switch the railroad icon and they will strategically redeploy to fill those gaps a little bit more quickly. A big, thick, wide pincer move will cut off the north. We are almost ready to create this pocket in the middle. And Leningrad has already fallen to the Finns. Magnificent. So this area up there has been fully encircled. We'll use the infantry who are lagging behind a little bit to close it. We'll draw a separate field marshal order to take the fight to them, and the armor can continue on to places like Riga, like Kaunas. They are big victory points and they are important supply hubs. We are almost at Venetia, and that is going to give us control of the local railways as well, which is going to be helpful to make the push further south. And with just a couple of maneuvers like this, we have created a series of encirclement. Encirclement there, encirclement there, encirclement there. And we're working on the big encirclement here, which is looking less likely, I'll admit. The infantry is a little slow in repositioning, so we might lose Venezia. I'm going to throw a tank in there to prevent collapse. You can tell the supply here is the main issue. Until this supply hub comes online within a couple of days, this area cannot reasonably be supplied. When we control the railways and they become active again, that's when the rest of the offensive becomes possible once more. And just like that, we are creeping ever closer to finishing this up. We need to take this position here, and it will all be over. If you're noticing that you are operating slightly too far away from supply hubs and you're not really able to supply your units, you could try taking the army or the field marshal that has trouble and clicking the motorization priority from a horse to 2 trucks and 3 trucks. This expands the range at which these supply hubs can project their supply. As you add more trucks to it, it will be able to cover more and more territory, at the cost of course, using trucks to make that supply happen. And just like that, the armor is making the final cut, and bada bing, bada boom, big pocket up there. And we're going to use the armor in this region to quickly smash this relatively large Soviet pocket, and then we'll make a cut from the north towards Pskov and Narva. And then we set up for the next. We always look for places where the line bulges in ways that we can exploit. For instance, we have a little salient here and a little salient here. If we stage armor in both the northern and southern bit and try to meet, let's say, near Daugavpils, above Molodechno, around here, we can cut off that entire section. That is my preferred way of playing. And they've already taken 781,000 casualties against my 25,000 within 16 days. So I'd say that's pretty good. So time to start cutting. These guys head to Minsk and then north. These guys Daugavpils, and then fight your way along this road to Vitebsk. Half of these 6 units will head to Kiev, and the other half will cut along this river down to Nikolaev to create the encirclement. And I can still run my campaign instructions. I keep forgetting that I have the campaign instructions available to me. Oh, also fun fact, Führer Directive 21 becomes available. It's a timed mission, basically giving you 6 months to capture Moscow, Leningrad, Kiev, and Stalingrad. It's ambitious. You get 10% war support if you succeed. It's not huge, but it does give you this buff, and it does maintain that buff for a little bit longer. Anyway, we're heading to Kiev, we're heading to Nikolaev. Over here, our pincers are already about to meet. And we'll get to Vitebsk, Mogilev, and the required railways to make sure that the line remains open. Once again, the infantry who are following behind, they can mop up the pocket. And in the south, operation is going just as planned. Half the pincer goes south to Nikolaev to complete that sickle cut, and then we cut inwards towards Odessa and Ackermann to fully cut them off. And these tanks simply cut towards Kiev, and then from Kiev along the river down to Dnipropetrovsk, which controls the supply for the southern area here. And we'll use the infantry to try and collapse this southern bit as well. Now the armor here has already made it to Vitebsk, and then these 6 armor units can go from Vitebsk, head north to Pskov and Narva, effectively cutting off the Soviet Baltic. And the armor here is already at Odessa and Ackermann. Soviet losses are up to 1.5 million within like 35 days. I love how everyone's embargoing us now. And you can already tell where the next big encirclement's gonna be. If we get our armor moving north from Kiev and south from Smolensk, we meet near Gomel, cut off the Soviet central bit. This is a big one that we've just finished up. Yeah, it's going to be felt, and again, using the infantry to close up these individual pockets rather aggressively while the armor pushes on. Heading down here to Sevastopol, that will seize Crimea. Oh, I accidentally encircled my own tank. Happens to the best of us. And whenever you see gaps in the line, try to walk units through it to create those small encirclements. And we got Vlasov. Whatever you want to do with him is fine. Up here, supply is going to be a little bit difficult until we actually take the port. So, could we just you know, take the port. There we go. With Narva in our hands, infantry cleans house there. And I have made a lot of casualties on the Soviet side. Again, my goal is to destroy the Soviet army. If the Soviet Red Army no longer exists, can't stop me from reaching my goals, and I can do whatever the hell I want to the Soviet Union. And again, I'll have you note, I am not making an all-out infantry push. My infantry is just following the tanks and only attacking to close the encirclements where they're fighting virtually defeated enemies. Except for here, I kind of forgot to turn this off. I might as well take Krasnodar, it's a pretty big supply hub. They can barely string enough troops together to protect the front line. This is over. And I'm just closing pockets one after another, just destroying Soviet Union troops. And the spies keep on spying. Once they reach 50% spy network, that's when you can do your collaboration government. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit late on that whole thing, but it is what it is. Time for a somewhat more coordinated tank push, a central push through the plains ahead of Moscow to Moscow. And then once we've reached Moscow, we're probably going to take a side cut. There is a bit of a supply gap between the area of Bryansk and Moscow, unless you take Tula. It's a very supply-poor region, so you want to make that push in one go if you're going to make it. As for their capitulation, they're basically halfway. Unfortunately, that means we're going to have to walk very far. The fall of Moscow, huzzah! Next up, we're going to make a cut from Voronezh towards Stalingrad and from Rostov towards Stalingrad to encircle whatever remains of the southern portions of the Soviet army. Once more, the armor does what it's supposed to do. It's taken Stalingrad. From Stalingrad, we cut south along this railway towards Astrakhan, giving us the supply and the operational width to cut south into the Caucasus, encircle what remains of Soviet Southern Army. And we've also achieved Führer Directive 21 with that one. Yay! Pretty good. Pretty good. And we've reached Astrakhan. Once again, just waiting for the railroad to be repaired so we can get it all flowing again. And the infantry can also make the push into the Caucasus region so we can end that once and for all. We get the Baku oil. We'll start pushing to Yaroslavl and then on to Vologda, and then half of those 12, so 6, we'll put up here near Novgorod, and we'll head to Vologda and then south to Yaroslavl to cut off what remains of the northern Soviet armies. Just shift the air around so we always have coverage with Kasan fighters, and things are going to be wonderful. And much like it always does, the armor delivers. And the army, having made that cut, pushes onwards. And this time we're heading to Gorky, and once we're past Gorky, to Kazan and the Urals. 4.7 million casualties to 100,000, and it's been, what, not even 6 months. And just move on to the next supply hubs along the path, so we can always keep pushing forward. Now we're going to reach the point where supply is going to be the main issue halting our advance. Nothing else for it but to just push past it. By this time, though, they barely have an army left. They have less than 100 divisions now. They started with more than 400. So they really shouldn't even have enough units to put to cover every single tile. There isn't really anything they can do about this. Like, there's nothing they can do to stop you from this point forward. Even if supply turns absolutely shit, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. They should not be able to do anything about it. And next step, Kazan, Kubyshev, and then we're on to the Urals. This area just has very poor supply hub density. There's nothing down here. There are 2 hubs over here, but there's a massive gap in the center. There's really no point in pushing all that much further, but we do need to get through the Urals to be able to capitulate them, which is what we'll do. You can tell there's barely anyone left on the front lines. This is the point where you just full send. Simply draw big attack lines into the heart of the Soviet Union, into Siberia with your infantry, and just press go. Set them to aggressive. You can afford the little bit of damage this is going to do to you. Soviets 92% towards capitulation. Unfortunately, like I said, there are not enough victory points on this side of the Urals to force the capitulation of the Soviet Union. We're gonna have to go to Sverdlovsk, Chelyabinsk, and beyond. And shocking absolutely no one, Stalin's decided to do the historical thing and declare war on Iran. You have no army left, Stalin. You're being pushed to the brink, so naturally the first thing that pops into your head is to just start another war. Makes sense. And they're gonna capitulate any minute now. We are gonna walk away with 96% of the war participation. Love to see it. Alright, that's the little bit of lag, and victory achieved. The Soviets down to basically scraps. Spoiler alert, if you occupy everything now, it will create a border with Japan. That border will have no troops on it. It will create a physical border here. And because that border will have no troops on it, Japan will be able to instantly break the non-aggression pact you have. They have war goals on you for your Southeast Asian puppets. They will instantly declare war. If you don't mind, feel free to just occupy everything. I'm really not interested. I am just going to puppet the Soviet Union in its entirety. Call it a day. Confirm and exit. And just like that, a beautiful Reichskommissariat Muskovien, we have achieved total Axis dominance. The only people still left who could challenge us are no one. Maybe God himself. You still have a Chinese United Front, and you still have Japan. I forgot to check, but we had like 5.5 million casualties on the Soviet Union. We barely took 150,000 casualties. We've achieved all of our faction goals. 100% domination. It is fine. We have achieved the defeat of communism. Now we can spread fascism on the continent. What I'm going to do now is start clicking some buttons because I think they're really funny. I'm going to Balkanize my Reichskommissariat by making more Reichskommissariats. This is what the Rosenberg office does. Each of these puppets you create buffs this man's traits up to like 6, I believe. And the reason you might want to create these, if you hold the territory yourself, you're getting a ticking timer on your economy of conquest that gets worse and worse and worse the more territory you yourself hold. If you, however, hand off that territory to these Reichskommissariats, these are special puppets you can create out of conquered territory. Even if you haven't had a peace deal yet, you can still create these as long as you control the territory. You can then mitigate the damage you take from your economy of conquest, and you won't have to spend as much manpower and equipment simply occupying the region. This way we can have a cleaner, more slim German occupation force. It's just a way of keeping things moving along. I find it funny how we can consistently Balkanize everyone. I'm gonna give some land to Finland because they should be rewarded. So we have Reichskommissariat Muskovien and Reichskommissariat Muskovien. You know what? I'll take it. Anyway, with that, that is victory achieved totally and absolutely. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like down below, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below telling me what you would do differently if I've made any glaring mistakes. Anyway, I hope to see you guys in the next video as well. Goodbye.